Welcome everybody. My name's Maralee Burnett. I am your astrologer, back with the messages for probably the craziest week of the year so far. And you'll want to make sure you're here to hear all the details as I break it all down for you. Now, we are just launching into the full moon in Capricorn as this week begins. So I already broke out that video and with all of the signs and what to expect and where all the pressure is, but we'll talk about that briefly here just to cover the energy on Monday. But if you want all the details for your sign and where this big mountain of pressure needs to explode in your life so change can happen, you'll want to go watch that video, and I'll have that link down below so that you can go watch it if you haven't already. So that's the big energy that kicks off the week. And then we're going to get into a lot of changes and shifts and slowdowns as Mercury goes retrograde, as Jupiter moves into the sign of Leo, where it'll spend about the next 13 months. That means it's saying sayonara to the sign of Cancer. And then we have Mars moving into the sign of Gemini, making a big explosive debut as it does. Like I said, there is a lot going on. If all of this sounds like nothing you've been hearing so far, then you definitely want to go out, click on that subscribe button, and make sure you're paying attention to my messages, especially on a daily basis, because I do pull a tarot card. Sometimes it's an oracle card that then I blend in with the energy of the day as well to really give you some advice on how to manage the energy that is coexisting with yours on any given day. So again, make sure that you click on subscribe, and then make sure you go out to my website. So at maraleeburnett.com, there you get access to all of my written material that supports these videos. So there is a ton of information out there for you because of all of these changes that are coming our way, especially in the month of July. So go out there, take a look at the Uranus article that's been out there for a while, since it's the first time in a lot of our lives that we've seen it in the sign of Gemini, since it takes 84 years to move around. Take a look at Chiron, planet that takes 50 years to go around as it's entering into the sign of Taurus. Go out and read about Jupiter moving into the sign of Leo. But this transit is different than the one from 12 years ago because of the fact that the South Node will be joining Jupiter. And so they're combining their efforts to bring us growth opportunities, as long as we agree to let go of the past, to learn the lessons of the past, to control our egos. All kinds of things are in that article, so you don't want to miss it. And speaking of those nodes, since they're changing signs at the end of July, that article is out there for you as well, along with the eclipse articles for August. So I've been working my tail off because I'm about to head off on a vacation and I want to be able to relax a little bit. So all of that material is out there for you. Take your time, read through it slowly, read through it again, and then pay particular attention. If you have personal planets, especially at the early degrees of really any sign, but especially the signs where these transitions are happening, because that means you are going to feel the impact personally. The rest of you may just feel it as a result of something that happens to someone around you. So much is going on. So buckle up, buttercup. Let's sit down. Let's break it all down. Get yourself something to drink and just be ready for a lot of surprises in this week ahead. So with that, let's get started here on Monday. So as I mentioned, Monday is the full moon in the sign of Capricorn, and it is essentially a few hours after I have posted this, because we still see the moons at 6 degrees of Capricorn, even though it's the middle of day on Monday, and it will have to get to 8 in order for the full moon to happen. But we are already seeing Mercury is in retrograde. We have Jupiter at the very last degree and minutes of the sign of Cancer. So Mercury being retrograde at the time of this full moon suggests that even though we are going to have things end or come to completion, they're not fully complete yet. And our perspective is going to change about whatever's being completed because of the fact that right after the full moon, Jupiter is then moving into the sign of Leo. And Jupiter grows and expands. It brings blessing. It brings good opportunities. It's a very beneficial, lucky planet. But it's still a teacher, and it still gives us lessons. So I'm just going to tell you, over the next year, if you live through your ego, you are going to be called on the carpet and be taught how to consider others besides just yourself and your wants and your needs and your desires. There is a lot to consider when it comes to Jupiter. And so those lessons are just going to be beginning, and they will be beginning as Mars is just moving into the sign of Gemini, and these two energies have been combined. So throughout the weekend leading up to this full moon event, things may have been getting a little spicy in the world of transportation, in the world of information, in the world of new ideas, in the war, right? Mars is a warrior. And Mercury that rules Gemini is about information, and Mercury is now in retrograde in the sign of Cancer. So these stories are combined, these stories that we're going to be watching all week long as Mars moves closer and closer to the planet Uranus. Because whatever is about to blow our minds, figuratively and maybe literally in some cases, is based on things that were done over the past year while Jupiter was in the sign of Cancer, and over the last 5 months while Jupiter was retrograde in the same degrees that now Mercury is coming over again and in much more detail. Mercury is putting the microscope on all of the movement that was created with Jupiter so that we begin to put all of the pieces of the puzzle together. And those pieces in the sign of Cancer are about home, about family, about immigration, about food security, about information collection, about families, about women, mothers. All kinds of topics can come to the surface now that the little detective Mercury is digging things up and starting to share. Now, this is just beginning, and as the planet just turns retrograde, it's way more influential, way more active, because it takes a lot of energy for a planet to turn in the sky and go around the sun, which is what makes it look like it's going retrograde, but it's not really, because planets don't go backwards. But as they're making changes and moves, which we have a lot of this week, the energy is going to intensify. So emotionally, because this is Cancer, our sense of security, all of those things are about to be very challenged as this energy starts to take hold. And because whenever a moon is full, already our emotions are on overdrive, and the moon's in Capricorn where it's at fall, there is something somewhat disturbing about the energy of this week, something that causes us or the government to try to control the chaos that is a result of this pressure that's being created, this energy that's chaotic at the time of this full moon. So why am I talking about pressure? In case you haven't watched the video that I already put out there. It's because of the T-squares that are created. So as the sun sits at 8 degrees of Cancer, It is in a 90-degree square with both Neptune at 4 degrees of Aries and Saturn at 14 degrees of Aries. And since Saturn rules the sign of Capricorn, what is happening to the Saturn energy matters. Now, this is what we'd call somewhat of a building square, because of the fact that the sun's going to keep moving forward all week long until it forms an exact square to Saturn. So this is pressure at the time of this full moon that's just beginning to build. And there will be things that we have to change as a result of what we learn in this week ahead. A square is a mountain of pressure, and that mountain is like a volcano, and it's going to explode outward and release the pressure. So why are we having multiple earthquakes? Will we have a volcanic eruption? Will we have a tsunami as a result of an earthquake? All of these types of things are likely and possible because of the fact that the planets that are involved in the energy at the time of this full moon, at the time of this conjunction between Mars and Uranus, all rule things that are hidden that we can't see. So Pluto, ruler of the underworld, and it's in the sign of Aquarius, which is an air sign. So there is something in the air that we can't see, but it will become visible this week. Neptune, ruler under the sea, literally. So there's something beneath the sea, beneath our emotions that, again, it's hidden. We can't see it, but it's working in harmony with Pluto. So they're combining their energy so that we can bring to the surface whatever this is that needs to be exposed. And finally, we have Uranus that will be with Mars in a few days in the sign of Gemini. Information, transportation, local communities, and I'm going to say sporting events because Gemini is the feet and the hands, which tells me something maybe involving the World Cup or a World Cup team is about to be really disruptive. Now, maybe it's just a team that shocks the world and wins a game that nobody expected them to win. And that would be fabulous. But I'm not convinced that that's it because unfortunately Mars is war. And last time Mars and Uranus were together, it was World War II. So there's definitely something about being combative that's coming up for us at the time of this full moon. So you might, again, personally be under pressure to finish or complete something. You're going to feel that more if you happen to have planets at 8 degrees of Cancer and Capricorn. If not, again, this could be something that happens around you and then has some kind of an impact on you. But remember, a full moon in Capricorn. So what does Capricorn rule? Rules the 10th house, rules hard work, right? The goat, that is the symbol of Capricorn, will climb a mountain. I don't even know how they find their footing just to find that one little leaf at the top to feed itself. Like, it will succeed. So there's something about a government male who's older, whose success maybe has run its course and they're going to be done in their role or in their position. Maybe it's somebody in a corporation, because 10th house career is also something that you get from the Capricorn energy as well. And there's pressure, right? So always opposition. Sun and moon oppose each other. The sun fills the moon with light. That's why it makes us very emotional at a full moon. But in Capricorn, the moon is much more reserved. Its emotions are much more controlled because of that Saturn influence. So as you can imagine, the sun is like, hey, I'm in Cancer. I've got all these feelings that I'm projecting onto you. And the moon's like, not so much. So that can literally be a relationship where someone's trying to project their emotions and their feelings on you, and you're not responding in the way that they want you to, and it causes a fight and it causes a breakup. right? And Saturn, taskmaster in the sign of Aries, is saying to both of you, you need to control yourself better, right? Saturn is restriction. Aries is the self. Aries is our temper, is our anger, it's our head. Like, we need to get and keep our heads on straight during this full moon so we don't make dumb choices. Literally. That's Saturn. And Saturn's like, if you don't keep yourself under control, there will be consequences. So this is the pressure that we are under. And somewhere in your chart, all of this pressure is going on. Now, Saturn is a bit away. It's 14, right? And this is 8. That's 6 degrees. But Saturn has the big rings. So Saturn's influence is definitely being felt between the moon and Saturn. And of course, the moon will move on. And again, that tension will build. So this is a week-long tumultuous energy. And this is just the tipping point at this full moon. Did you follow all of that? I know it's a lot. And everybody except for Venus mostly is, really involved. So it is definitely going to be an incredible full moon. So mind your temper. Mind your triggers. And end the things that you're a part of that no longer serve you, because that's the point of this. The pressure is going to become so difficult if you're trying to hang on to something or someone that you just will not be able to going forward. So don't. Something better is waiting for you. Just let it go. So that's a few things about, Monday. I don't know why, but it really has seemed this whole year like Mondays have been incredibly active all year long. Very rare that a Monday or the week starts in a gentle way. So here's another one for the record books. Let's head on into Tuesday. And as I mentioned, right after this full moon, now we have Jupiter in the sign of Leo. Now, the last time we had Jupiter in the sign of Leo would have been 12 years ago. So we're talking 2014, 2015, right? That full year cycle, mid-year to mid-year. But what's going to be different, as I mentioned already as well, is the fact that the South Node at the end of July is also going to join Jupiter in the work that it's doing to clean out the egos, to clean out the leaders, to guide us towards the North Node in Aquarius, which is power to the people, and strip away leaders that don't serve us the way they should, or people who are on stage that are not doing good for the people, right? There's actors that could suddenly give up, or musicians, their journey of becoming something other than what they were meant to become and walk away. There's going to be so much going on in the year ahead. And when it gets to 0, as Jupiter is now, it's a reset moment. So this is the great time to pay attention over these next several days to what's showing up for you. What are you being guided to do differently? Maybe you just need to have some fun. Leo is 5th house energy. It's fun. It's children. It's joy. It's our heart. And we can expand on that as long as we're doing the right thing. But if we're abusing any of those things that I just discussed, you will be held accountable. Just saying. So as we get started today, that Jupiter energy is making what we call an inconjunct back here to the nodes that now are at 0 degrees of Pisces and Virgo. So there's something about where we're headed that Jupiter is showing us we need to make some adjustment. So what Jupiter has planned and what the North Node has planned, they aren't exactly on the same page. And sometimes the North Node in Pisces can have us being too, emotional to allow ourselves to have fun, right? Like we could be stuck in a pity party, and because of that, we don't let us have fun, right? That's just a real simple example. But there's something we need to reconsider about our feelings, maybe about, like I said, our gifts as an artist. Have we gotten off of our path? And is what we do fun anymore? Is it bringing you joy? And if not, then this is a time where you can start reevaluating that and consider doing something different. And since reevaluating is what we're supposed to do with Mercury in retrograde, this is a good day to sit still with that energy and pay attention to what we are being shown. A very dramatic discussion, which is Leo drama, why a lot of actors and artists and musicians have strong Leo energy and leaders, is this conflict, this square that goes here to Chiron. Of course, that's just been introduced to the sign of Taurus around the 19th, and we're just in preview mode. But already there's something about what we value when it comes to money, maybe when it comes to food, whatever the juicy details are, the senses, there's something that's broken. There's something that's misaligned. And as Jupiter meets with Chiron, which it's already been meeting, but now they're meeting, in new, fresh territory, it's showing you maybe where the things that you value are not in a line with things that make you feel worthy, right? So you may be in a situation, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, a friendship, that isn't appreciating you and what you have to contribute. And again, it doesn't feel fun. It doesn't bring you joy anymore. And the sacrifices that you keep making, you just can't do it anymore. And so there's something that we're seeing here on Tuesday between the discussion of Jupiter and Chiron that we'll feel motivated to change and allow ourselves to heal by the new direction that we are guided towards taking. And so again, it's from June till September 17th that we have Chiron giving us the preview of the work that's really not going to kick off in full until the spring of 2027. So it's just so important if you can get ahead of the game, right? This is the pretest. So when you take that pretest at school that says, how much do you already know about, what we're going to learn in this class? And you ace it. You're like, this class is going to be a breeze because I know what I need to know. And I am going to show up and learn every single day versus, oh my God, I don't know anything. And this class is going to be a total pain in the butt, right? What's your mindset going to be? Because it doesn't have to be that way. You can go in and say, wow, I didn't realize how much I didn't know on this topic of money, of beauty, of love, of values, right? They're valuables, I should say. There's a difference between the values of Jupiter in the 9th house of spirituality and the valuables of the Venus ruled Taurus, right? We say, what do we put value in? We usually say the material things, which are all Taurian in nature. So there's something that we've gotten off on the wrong foot, and we're putting too much energy into things that actually don't give us anything back. And so whatever that empty chalice is that you keep carrying around with the hole in the bottom and you keep pouring your heart and soul into it, it's time that you actually looked inside the chalice and realized there's a hole in there and I'm not ever going to fill this up. So you're going to change. Will you change during this summer window? Maybe. But the goal this summer and at this moment on Tuesday is to realize what it is about yourself that you need to change, how you need to plug the hole, and you'll go back and do it as soon as Chiron goes back into the sign of Aries and is retrograde so that you can fill your own cup up. That's the work that's remaining. And there's something about this energy on Tuesday that is going to show us just that. All right, let us move on to Wednesday. So Wednesday, same stories going on, just as Jupiter starts moving forward, its connection with Chiron becomes even stronger. And on Wednesday, the moon joins in, moves into the sign of Aquarius, is going to be speaking with Pluto. So again, there can be a lot of emotional turmoil on this day. The moon, of course, is our feelings, it's our intuition, and it's what we need to feel safe and secure. And in the sign of Aquarius, it says we need to feel connected. And when we are connected to other people, we feel much more powerful. And that's Pluto in Aquarius. It says there is power to be found in the connections that you make with other people. Now, there's some people who will abuse that power and the connections that we have to other people that happen through the internet, that happen through AI, that happen through chat groups. So there's something that is building between Jupiter in Leo, a leader, and Pluto in Aquarius, the power of the people, that's going to create a huge clash. And again, that exit point is through Taurus. Maybe it takes money to solve whatever this conflict is. Or maybe, again, we realize how misaligned we are by putting all of our eggs in one basket. And maybe that basket is some kind of a Bitcoin, and that is going to crumble. This is part of a much larger story that is going to continue to build and unfold as we get into July. And everybody's talking about Barbo's basket. And all I'm going to say on that is my vision on it today, because I've really been sitting with it instead of just spouting off and talking about it, is that that basket is going to deliver us somebody very important. So my vision when looking at the basket was like somebody like a Moses, somebody like a Jesus being delivered in this basket. And that is what ends up changing society as a whole. So I don't know if that is going to be the truth or not, but I don't think everything's changing just as this formation is created. I think the seeds are planted and baskets are used in deliveries. So I think something's being born out of this basket, but not very many things, unless you're a horse or a giraffe, are off and running as soon as they are born. It takes a little time for you to be ready. So I don't know if any of that makes sense, but that's what I'm starting to get from that. And, is it the birth of a new nation? Is it a birth of a new movement, a new leader? It's something along those lines that is in some way contained in this basket of energy. So we'll be talking more about that in the next videos, but this is the lid of the basket, or the lid of the cradle. The top of the cradle is created by the pressure between Jupiter in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius. And as the moon comes in here as well today, pay attention. Whatever your spidey senses are telling you, do it. Don't doubt it. Trust this insight that you are being given today about what this pressure really means. Because at least when Pluto's retrograde, instead of hiding down there in the underworld, it's stirring things up. It's bringing things to the surface so that we can see what we need to see. And with the moon in there and adding in our intuition and combining our energy with other people, there is something so important about this energy that we're wanting to begin to realize. Now, the other big powerful part of this basket that's started now, one of the leaves of the basket, is that conversation again that's going on between that Pluto in Aquarius, Neptune in Aries, and Uranus in the sign of Gemini, which of course is beginning to be powered up by Mars. So it's what we call a minor triangle. And that with the outer planets, I've been calling it your invisible energy that is creating change on a societal level that we cannot see, but we're certainly beginning to feel. And if you get lost or distracted by all of the chaos that's going on, you're going to miss what this is for you. And it is meant to support you in some way. So as Mars comes through here, but since it's a personal planet and the rest of these three are all outer planets, it's activating this minor triangle of support. It's exposing what's been hidden or what's been going on behind the scenes so that we start to understand what it is. And that's what could be so shocking, is whatever this is being exposed by Mars that blows our minds. Because of course Mercury rules the mind. It rules conversation. Mercury rules transportation. It rules sense of humor and joking. It's also the sign of the twins, so it's the light and the dark. So there is something that could be dark, because also things are dark underneath the sea, things are dark in the underworld, and things are dark in the sky, Uranus, right? So there is something that Mars, with its fire, with its passion, with its aggression, is bringing to our attention. And so you've been hearing all of the things, and it's just starting to really pick up in energy. It's not like it hasn't already been going on. It absolutely is. But at close and closer degrees to Uranus, which is a lightning bolt of energy, it's going to be picking up in intensity. Now, I always call Uranus the nutty professor, ruler of the sky, lightning bolt of energy. And lightning doesn't go the way you expect it to go. And things fall out of the sky and go in unexpected directions. So I expect things to be falling out of the sky as a result of this. Now, there's satellites up there. Satellites capture pictures, they capture information. There is definitely something that is going to blow our minds. Now, yes, we've talked about this. Is it war? Is there bombs? Are there attacks? All those things are possible. And as we're heading to big events like the World Cup and 4th of July celebrations, we have to be careful. So keep your eyes open, be alert, be prepared, know your exits. And when you're driving, you make sure that you are a defensive driver, because of course this transportation energy, third house community, these are all things that can happen on a local level that can be very, very disruptive. But because of that minor triangle that's a part of this energy, whatever is disrupted now, we need to know it. We need to learn it so that we can move on, so that the shift can begin to happen. And again, this continues throughout the summer, these outer planets speaking together. But until the moon moves through, which it does, of course, every month, and it's starting its conversation with Pluto right now, Mars is the last personal planet for some time that's going to activate this. So pay attention. It's fascinating, astrology. I'm absolutely fascinated by what we are going to experience energetically in this week ahead. So we're beginning to see this conversation unfolding on Wednesday. And then as we head into Thursday, the conversation does not change. The moon is still in Aquarius. It's moved past Pluto. It's picked up the information it needed to pick up from Pluto. And then, we're heading here to Friday. So it's definitely a big, long holiday weekend for people with Mercury being retrograde. If you watched my full moon video, I said I'm going to be, traveling. I will have arrived by now. So I'm giving myself plenty of time before the big explosive energy happens to arrive. But know that if you are traveling over this holiday weekend, because Mercury is retrograde on Friday, July 3rd, you need to give yourself plenty of time, slow down, and expect the unexpected, because of the fact on this day is when Mars joins hands with Uranus. So this is when whatever the event is, it may have even already have happened, but now it's still picking up in intensity. Now, the number 3, where they're meeting, if you look at this from a numerology perspective, 3 is about the Creator, the Holy Spirit, the 3. It's about creation, creativity. So remember how I said I feel like the building blocks of this cradle, this basket that's being formed over the next several weeks, like here's the seed. This is part of what's being planted, is some of this energy as well. So it's just more intense energy. And then I also said we're still going to see the sun moving forward, building in its difficult conversation with Saturn. So these are 2 leaders that are in a difficult position with each other, that the conflict that they are in continues to build. So let's talk about some positive things that could happen as a result of Mars joining with Uranus in the sign of Gemini. If you've been stuck trying to solve a problem, or make a decision on a car, right? Like these things that come together and can bring you a brilliant aha moment. The solution to a problem that you've been having for a long time suddenly is solved, right? So we talk a lot about the negative aspects of the energy because, of course, that gets a lot more clicks. But Mars's motivation, Gemini's information and conversations. So maybe there will be a breakthrough in the peace talks. And instead of continuing to escalate everything that's been going on, we'll suddenly have like long-lasting peace in some way. So focus in on what you want to create. Join the energy where you want to join it. If you join it from a place of fear, you'll create more fear and you'll feed the fear that some people want you to do. Or you can choose. Now, there's some things that are fated that we can't change the direction that's coming for us, but we can own our energy and how we respond to it. And I think that's what's going to be really important. As Chiron continues to speak in harmony with the nodes in Pisces and Virgo, we have to continue to release controlling outcomes and lean more into our faith, right? So as Chiron's talking to Jupiter here in Leo still, which it will be for a while, it's also still talking in harmony with the North Node and the South Node. So whatever lessons we're learning, whatever wounds we're being shown and that we're dealing with and that we're healing, or we're walking away from situations, fate is guiding us to do this work right now. So it's so important. If you want to be able to manage through 2034, do what you're being guided to do right now while spirit is on your side and opening the door and changing directions and moving you along where you need to move, right? That's the other thing about Gemini energy. It's about movement. Go. Pick a side, do something, be active. Mercury is about movement. So wherever you're being guided to move and change, do it. I'm doing something very different for myself this summer because I felt really strongly guided to do it. And it's not something you question. You just trust the process and go. Even if it's maybe not for you. Whatever this is about, you play a role, but sometimes your role can be indirect. So there's definitely something explosive, mind-blowing, coming out of the sky as we hit Friday. And again, as I've mentioned, since this is a holiday weekend, since we're having fireworks and celebrations, just extreme caution. If you're doing fireworks, extreme caution. And I really don't recommend it. So sometimes when you get things like forest fires and celebrations are canceled, it's not something to get upset about. It's for your protection, for instance. But there can be winds, air, energy, Uranus, that are going to stir the fires up and they're going to spread. So again, just if you're in those areas and you're getting evacuation orders, go. Don't fight it. Go where you're being guided to go without question. Just protect yourself because this is about unexpected energy. That's what Uranus is. And Mars is pretty aggressive in whatever this unexpected thing is. So again, if you happen to have personal planets at 3 degrees of Gemini, be extremely careful. And this is no joke. If you need inspiration, then tap in and use that energy today. But more than anything, just protect yourself. And hopefully we come back together next week. And the mind-blowing stories are things that were exciting, like aliens. I don't know. I am going to be glad when this week's over so that we have some answers, hopefully, to what's going on. And so for more excitement, of course, here we are. Happy 250th birthday to the United States of America. Now, this is when we declared our independence, but we didn't have it yet. You happen to read the history books, there was still a lot of battles going on here for years to come. So it is kind of interesting that we picked this date because we signed the Declaration of Independence, but the war was not over. There was a lot of battles still going on. And so it is, of course, interesting that we have Mars in the sign of Gemini with Uranus that may be showing us battles that are still going on that we didn't realize. But now that we're made aware of the battles, we can show up and do something about them. And so, of course, because we still have this very volatile, very unsafe energy, and there's lots of celebrations, keeping an eye on what's going on in DC, which we're already seeing crazy stuff, right? The reflecting pool thing that's going on is crazy. The name change over the Kennedy Center is crazy. What's going on with the Supreme Court justices is flat out crazy. Like, the energy is definitely there. Uranus is returning to the U.S.'s chart. So the crazy making that's been going on for the past 84 years, we're closing a chapter that's been with us for 84 years and then begins again. So those in leadership roles 84 years ago, you're having your Uranus return. And Uranus is about breaking free. It's about freedom. Let freedom ring. So people who are feeling stuck and trapped, they want to break free. They want a sense of freedom. Energy that is stuck and trapped beneath the Earth's surface wants to be free. So it's such volatile energy, whether it's the Earth that's shaking or the sky that's freaking out. Energy-wise, weather-wise, it is just very unsettling energy. And again, as I mentioned, of course, with all of the 4th of July celebrations, with the celebrations in the capital, you just need to be careful and monitor your surroundings and look. Is this happening for you somewhere in your chart and it's squaring something else that could affect your person? Then you need to be extra careful about yourself and where you're going and who you're surrounding yourself with during this holiday weekend, because it can impact you. You just need to be careful. You need to stay off the ladders. You need to slow down if you're driving somewhere. You need to be flexible. You need to be a defensive driver. Like, you need to protect your energy and your personal space when we have so much going on. Now, we still have a lot of supportive energy, right? I've been talking about it. Chiron helping us heal, and nodes of fate and destiny, and that minor triangle going on in the background. But Mars is making it personal, and that's what we need to understand. Again, because if there's something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, but we need to know, Mars is the one about to expose it all. So it's just going to be, like I said, really fascinating. So the only thing that's changing between the 3rd and the 4th, the moon moves into Pisces. So we are even more emotional. And Mars just starts to move slightly past Uranus today. But they're still very close together. Everything else that's still going on is still going on. Not a lot is shifting and changing. It's just building into intensity. So here on Saturday, still just as intense, but also a little bit more emotional with the moon in Pisces for the next couple of days. So trust your intuition. It's going to guide you where you should and should not be for your 4th of July celebrations. And then we're going to wrap up the week here on Sunday. And now the preview of the Jupiter energy is over. Jupiter's now at 1 degree of the sign of Leo through all the chaos, and showing us where the work is, where we need to grow, where we need to expand in our expectations of our leaders, for instance. So that is different. Mercury is off of its initial degrees of its retrograde. So again, it's not stalled anymore. So that review, what we needed to learn from the past, is starting to pick up in energy and pick up in momentum. And Mars is starting to create space, maybe literally, between itself and Uranus. And then that means it's starting to move a bit away from Neptune and Pluto as well. But it's still there. It's still a strong influencer, like it has been all week long. And so words can still be wording. Words can be used as weapons. So just don't let that be you, right? Throughout all of this conflict, you have choices to make, and you can be in control of the words you say and the thoughts you think, and not use them in a way that causes other people harm. Right? That's one of the lessons that I think we have to learn through all of this chaos and all of this turmoil that is this week, is what are you doing with the words that you're saying to other people? Are you inciting more violence, or are you helping to bring it back down? Such an interesting week. And so eventually the week will end, and then we will take a look at next week. So in the week ahead, as I mentioned, this is where the tension between Jupiter and Pluto starts, to build in intensity, because Jupiter, of course, is the largest planet. So it's not like this hasn't already been happening, but it's been happening beneath the surface with that Pluto energy. And Jupiter here opposing Pluto is going to start exposing whatever that is. So that That's going to be the new intensity. But remember, Jupiter's doing what's for the greater good. We're going to see Venus get ready to wrap up her time in the sign of Leo and head on into Virgo. This planet much more enjoys Leo. The Virgo energy is very restrictive. So I would imagine financially or from an earth perspective on the ground, we may feel more restricted over the next several weeks in, what it is that we can do and when we can do it. Doesn't mean we can't, but we have to be more responsible and thoughtful with what we're doing with the Venus topics of beauty and love and money as she moves through that. And then again, we'll talk more about the Barbeau's cradle, or what I look at as a basket, and the two minor triangles that are beginning to be formed, which is going to happen as Jupiter moves farther and farther along here. So there's a seed being planted. There's something getting ready to be delivered. And as we watch this energy this week, we'll see that. Now we're going to continue to see the conflict between the Sun and Saturn as well. In fact, it's reaching a peak here as we wrap up Sunday and head into Monday. So this is, this can be the conflict that has been created by the chaos master Mars and Uranus. But there's something about it that has to change. The conflict has to change direction, or it grows in intensity as we kick off the next week. So, yeah, it's going to be intense. That's all I know. And we can just continue to tap into the changes and the opportunities and move forward and shift and change, because that's what's coming, right? Mars is moving us forward through information, through transportation, through travel. And Jupiter is expanding our joy, our fun, our love, our laughter, right? For the summer. So there's always opportunity. That's why some people will always be successful no matter what's going on around us, and others won't, because your mindset matters most of all as you navigate through whatever difficulty is showing up for you. So I'm here to help. Like I said, I have a ton of resources out there, and check out those tarot cards that I pull on a daily basis, because those will help you tune in and see what's coming your way. And the more you watch them, the more you come back and watch them, the more they start reading your energy. And I'm so thankful for all of the people that have been watching those reels lately. They're taking off. So I think I'm striking a chord out there with what I'm saying to hopefully lift you up and encourage you and prepare you for what's coming in the days ahead. And all of the written content, like I said, it's out there. The July monthly article is out there. The August monthly article is out there. The new moons, full moons, solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, all are out there. And in August, a chapter closes, so a new one can begin. So this work is just starting, and it will pick up even more as we get to those eclipses, with the final lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces and the first solar eclipse in the sign of Leo. Like I said, I think a new star is about to be born. Who knows? Maybe that's what's going to suddenly appear in the sky, is something new that we had yet to discover. Anything's possible. So tune in to creating happy surprises. I'm going to send a lot of positive energy your way, and send me some back as I hit the road on yet another road trip and go to enjoy the summer months ahead. All right, guys, I'll be back with next week's messages, and it'll be a little bit calmer. The beginning of the week is still volatile, but less intensity, at least compared to this week. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk again next week. Bye now.